and welcome to Dragons, Unicorns.
And other creative creatures. You're looking quite creative today.
Thank you, thank you. I thought that this would be, you know, a good time for us to talk about creativity over the holidays.
You know, mostly people are focused on the to-do, the to-do, the to-do, the stress, stress, stress. And you forget sometimes that you need to feed your creative soul.
Yep, you absolutely need to feed your creative soul. You need to learn to have a little fun on the holidays.
Well, that's...
And have some wisdom. I mean, like, let's check it out, right?
That Yoda is a wise character.
Yep. He's a wise character that lets that wisdom go through all of his body, front side and backside, which makes him a wise backside sometimes.
Oh my gosh.
Oh. So anyways.
Going downhill rapidly here.
Going downhill rapidly. Well, you know.
We're slaying downhill.
We're slaying downhill. Jingle bells. Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. I hope everyone likes our new background.
Yeah.
Speaking of being creative, the folks here at Hudson
Community Television
have gotten creative on us. And instead of doing our hanging tapestries, we have our beautiful new dragon and unicorn. Again, we have the yin and yang dragon, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, yeah. And I was trying to decide at first if it was a yin. I think it's a dragon and a phoenix, isn't it?
It looks more phoenix-like to me. Yes.
Yeah, I think it's a dragon and a phoenix.
Definitely have that fire-related.
Yeah, thing. And then you
yep.
have that really neat prismed unicorn that has all sorts of stars. And of course, you have your unicorn now.
I do. Look at my unicorn. Isn't she lovely? Or he? I don't know.
Isn't he lovely? So, you know, a lot of times over the holidays, we spend time, and, you know, I do a whole talk and actually even taught a class called Surviving the Holidays.
D-A-Z-E, yeah.
Yes. And I think it's really important that what we remember is that holidays were originally spelled H-O-L-Y-D-A-Y-S.
Yes.
Holy days.
Yes.
Because it's holy days in your faith.
It is, although Hanukkah's not one.
Oh, now interesting.
That's right.
Hanukkah's not considered a holy day?
It is not. It is a festival.
It's a festival. But it's something that's considered sacred.
There's no rabbi in it. There's no. Eventually, the rabbis told the story. They added the miracle of the 8 days of lights, and that was where God was. But actually, it was more the story of us winning another war, you know, and surviving to, you know, go on. But it was, and then the rabbis go, where was God in the story? Because when, you know, in all the stories and all the festivals, you want there to be that religious aspect of it. And it was decided that, well, he was present in the making sure the right people were in the right place to be in the right, to make it successful when the Greeks came and despoiled the temple.
So what are the holy days in the Jewish faith during this?
Oh, well, I mean, you have the high holidays, which are the most sacred ones, which are Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, back in September, followed by Sukkot, which is the holiday of the harvest. And there's a holiday, you're going to start seeing our agrarian roots. There's a holiday for, basically for rain, that's around rainfall and the praying for rain. And then there's, in the spring, Passover is considered, that one is a holiday as opposed to a festival. It's also 8 days though. And then there's one for the trees. There's a holy day for the trees called Tu B'Shvat.
Tu B'Shvat.
Yeah, that's the date. The way the Hebrew letters are given numerical assignments. So it's the 15th day of the month of Shvat.
Shvat. And what month would that be in?
It's usually around March, April.
So spring, more springish.
More spring, yeah. If for those of our farmers out there, you know that if you pick fruit from a fruit tree when it's too young, they never mature and become large enough. But it was important to, if you're a landowner, it was important to tithe the best fruits and part of your harvest to the king or the mayor or whoever ran the land. But how did you decide how old a tree was? Well, once it started bearing fruit, you went from one Tu B'Shvat to the next. And once it had hit its third, now you knew you could start picking fruit from it and tithing as the whatever percentage. So Hanukkah is a festival, and Purim, which is also in March, is also a festival, as opposed to a holy day. Christmas, on the other hand, definitely falls under the holiday, holy day.
But not in the Jewish faith.
Oh, no.
No.
No, we do Chinese food and movies.
No. You said before.
That's what I do.
Yes. But,
It's a very important tradition.
you know, Jeff and I are going to be doing a Yule celebration.
Ooh, what will you do for your Yule?
Well, we'll be doing some ritual and ceremony to kind of go into that darkest day of the year, to basically put into perspective and be ready to leave behind, to then you move forward into the light, into the new, the new time period as at least in this part of the world, the light starts to come back.
Yes, after the solstice.
After the solstice.
Wonder of wonder, miracle of miracles. Look at that, it happened again.
Yeah, there you go. And there are some others. But this is just a time of year where there's a lot of holy days going on, or days that people celebrate. And it went from the why? Because it's a festival. Why? Because it was, reported to be the birth of Christ. Why? Because it was the
sun god was
longest day
dying.
of the year. Yeah. Why? And then at some point retail took over and it all became about the I. What are you getting me? What are you getting me? What are you getting me? I.
I felt that one coming, didn't you?
Maybe I should trade my Santa Claus hat in for a Mexican
No.
sombrero. Oh, okay.
No. Besides, there's songs for all of them. I mean, Christmas carols and there's lots of songs associated with holidays.
But I think it's important that we return to this concept that these were meant to be some kind of holy days, some kind of sacred days where we should be thinking more about gratitude and tradition and tradition.
We're back to that. Well, and it's always, it is about the light. It was about it disappearing. It's about it coming back. And for almost all of us, no matter what we are celebrating or not celebrating, there are rituals, there are traditions, there are routines that you can find both comfort in the repetition and creativity in how you can do it differently. I mean, certainly menorahs can look like anything, as long as it's got 8 candles and one that's taller than the others.
Okay.
And you can see them done in Disney characters, and you can see them done in sports stuff, and you can see them done in unicorns and dragons. There's tons of creativity in Judaica. And my kids, certainly when they were young, used to do the craziest of colors with all the candles. So, there's always ways that you can make it creative. And you love to create the gifts themselves, too. Back to, kind of avoiding the retail of it.
Well, I think that part of it is first of all, I'm not a big fan of the idea of getting yourself in hock to buy as much as your relatives bought, or, I remember growing up, and I'm not trying to pick on my mother here, but I remember growing up, my mother would keep all the slips, and 2 or 3 days before Christmas, she'd add them all up to make sure she spent the exact same amount of money. And if she had spent a different amount of money on one kid than another kid, she'd go out and she would buy some little something. Sometimes
just to keep it
balanced. Yep. If you spent this much, you spent that much. And I kind of moved to the place at some point where I got slower and slower on the people that I gave gifts to. I mean, it's like I'm giving gifts out of obligation, not out of...
Yeah, the list definitely shrank over the years.
And I start getting my gifts for the people that I think that I would like to give a gift to. And I love this term, exchange a gift. Because exchange a gift is an obligatory term.
Yes.
If you want to buy me a gift, you feel that somehow, for whatever reason, that this time of year you would like to do something that in some kind of tangible form, so to speak, says, hey, you're important in my life, that's up to you.
I got my mug. We got our mugs.
Yeah, I know. I keep on looking at my dragon mug. I'm hoping that it will fly up to my lips and feed me because I'm a little armless today.
Don't try this at home, boys and girls.
Oh.
Next time I'm getting you a straw.
Yeah. Well, you know, what all I can
Next time, like I'm going to stick him in a green screen sweater again anytime soon.
Hey, we just wanted Yoda to show up because we're trying to give you some wisdom for the holidays. Don't feel like it has to be a gift exchange. If you want to buy a gift for somebody, buy a gift. Better at, make a gift. Find something that, you know, is significant. I'll get little things through the year that I'll say, you know, so-and-so, they would really like this.
I do that. First of all, you know me. I love retail therapy.
Yep.
I believe in the emotional and economic strength and importance of retail therapy. And I do. And I actually have gotten smart because years ago I would do it and then like 2 months after the holidays go, oh, look, there's that gift I bought them. So now I have one spot, you know, on a shelf where when I buy something soon or early, that's where it goes so I know I can find it come birthday/holiday time. But yeah, no, if I see something you don't wait, oh, that'll be lovely come Christmas because I'll never remember.
Well, yeah, see, I've got I have the gift drawer. There's the drawer and all the gifts get thrown into the gift drawer for the people that I want. But like this year, I mentioned on one of the other shows, I'm making a queen size bedspread or throw or
That's
whatever
right. In
cover.
blue, blue, and blue.
In blue, blue, and blue for my father-in-law because to him there is blue and not blue.
That's it.
Blue and not blue, the only two colors in the world. And so it was something I could do. But I think that there are a lot of things that you could do that might take a little bit more time or a little bit more thought or a little bit more effort that can have a whole lot more meaning as a gift than you know, going out and getting, you know, and putting on your football padding for Black Friday or, you know.
Seriously, it is a contact sport at this point.
Yeah, it is. So tell me about a gift that you made. Tell me about a gift that somebody made for you that stayed with you that had a lot of significance.
A gift that somebody made for me. I'm trying to think of the things I have that were made. My mother was my mother's rebellion in some ways was she didn't knit, she didn't do, you know, we had a guest on, Judith, your quilt maker came on and she discussed how she learned needlecraft from her mom. And my mom couldn't stand that stuff. She was, you know, she finds it funny that I do make cards, that I do scrapbooking, that I do some, he desperately needs that coffee, that I do some things that are crafty, as she calls it. And she, being, you know, sort of a teen in the 50s, rebelled tremendously against that. So she was not into that. But I do have the things my kids made when they were little. I have bookmarks they made. And I have a really cute picture that Max drew me, that Ethan rather drew me of the first 2 books I ever published that came out, and one of Max that he drew me. And so those are the ones I have. And those weren't for necessarily an occasion that I can think of. They were given out of love in the moment of love. So
yeah,
those I have.
Well, you know, there's been some things that I've done through the years. Some that I will do again when I get a chance, and you know, others. Again, I knit and crochet, so I try to make 1 or 2. All my nephews and nieces at some point got scarves. When they were little kids, they used to get savings bonds, which they now thank me for when they became adults, and they had this little pile of savings bonds. Because I was like, I am not putting another toy that's going to be broken in a day, a week, 2 weeks. It's not going to be remembered. But it was, you know, so if I was going to do something, I'd rather do a savings bond, especially for a small kid that doesn't remember it. I mean, you know, you give them a gift and you put it in a nice box and
they want to play with the box.
They'll play with the box as often as, you know.
They're like cats.
Yeah, I was going to say kids and cats. So, but, you know, some of the things through the years besides knitting and crocheting things. And one of the best gifts I ever got,
Oh, yes.
interestingly, was a gift that my middle brother made for me in woodworking shop when he was in high school. And I was in junior high school, and I played chess. And he made me a chessboard.
Wow.
A really nice, cut all the blocks out.
That's a time-consuming, thought out, measured out, measure twice, cut once. That's a
Yep. And he and I think he got like an A on the project in
well,
woodworking.
thank goodness.
You know, but he did something like that. But one of the other things, when I was in my early 20s, that I would do, when money was tight, and and I wanted to do something or bring something or whatever, is I'd make pies. I'd make loaves of bread. I'd remember whatever their favorite something was, and I'd make them a homemade batch of something, which people appreciate.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Oh, my, anybody wants to cook, when the times when people have made me dinner so that I didn't have to cook, whether something had happened or, whether it was when the children were first born, when my in-laws passed, I mean, those sorts of gifts matter so much more and made such a difference in my day and my stress and my ability to get back to normal and be happy or whatever it was. That kind of giving is ideal. So you're right, cooking either their favorite dish or the dish you're known for.
Can definitely make a difference. And so you give a consumable gift. You gave them a memory.
Oh my gosh, one of my closest friends, her husband has become the king of consumable gifts. He hates clutter, and she loves knickknacks. And he loves giving her gifts, but he hates things that take up space. So he has done like the Soap of the Month Club. Soap disappears. You finish it up. He's given her 6 months of massages. Doesn't take up any space in the house. I mean, seriously, king of awesome gifts that she loves that take up no space, create no clutter.
I think
Brilliant.
I think when I was about 11 or 12 years old, I made candles for people.
There's something that disappears.
And that's only if you light it.
If you light it, this is true. I mean, if the little Kevin candle, I probably wouldn't light.
And I gave one to my grandmother, and I think it was like 14 or 15 years later, 16 years later, whenever she died, she still had that candle, and it was up there with her knickknacks and stuff like that. She never laid it. It was an owl, and it was a kit, but it was something.
It was made by her grandson, who she adored, and every time she saw it.
Yep, made it for him.
Yep. Pictures. When my kids were little, I gave to a lot of close relatives pictures of them in simple frames, and I loved getting them too.
Yep.
And I still love having them. So.
Yeah, I've done the picture thing, especially when I was traveling around a lot. Every Christmas, I would give my mother an updated, it might be a headshot that was on a book cover or something, but there'd be some kind of thing done, and I would update her picture, and she'd always be thrilled. And there were years where I remember one year when I first started out, and I was going to be one of the first Christmases I ever missed being at home. I don't want to make that Christmases at home were Hallmark. They were more like Hellmark.
Now there's a channel we could all use.
I have my Christmas disaster stories. However,
That's an anthology.
you still
You still did it, yeah.
Yep. You still, that's what you did. So I remember one Christmas that we all convinced. I told my mother I wasn't going to be able to come home this year. That I was doing work in Colorado. It just wasn't practical.
Right.
Coming back to New England,
Yeah.
I was really sad about it, and she was really upset. And then I snuck in, and on Christmas Eve, I surprised her, and that was her Christmas gift. And I was like, "Your Christmas gift is I'm here." And she was like, "That's the best Christmas gift in the world. You don't ever have to give me anything else but just showing up." And for many years, that's what I did.
But it is, I mean, the stress of it, and self-care goes, I think, yes, New Year's, huge resolution around health and taking care of ourselves. But I think that resolution is sort of reinforced by the fact that from somewhere from like Thanksgiving to Christmas, we go to hell. We treat ourselves kind of terribly if we're not careful. The things that we know work, the things that we know de-stress us, fill us up, embolden us, empower us, go out the window in the face of finishing up this, finishing up that, doing this, doing that, getting this here, getting that there, going to this party, this party, this party. Ugh.
Well, and I want to address that in an issue. I actually was just interviewed. I've been interviewed on a couple of other people's shows recently.
Ooh, see Dr. Kevin on the road.
Yes, Dr. Kevin on the air.
The Dr. Kevin Road Show.
Yes. But before I jump into that, because I want to talk about bad parenting in the holidays, but I do want to come up with some gifts. I have a few ideas off the top of my head.
Oh, good.
This was your, but I'm going to say this was partially your idea of doing this show, so I'm going to put you on the spot of what are good gifts that you could make, whether you consider yourself an artiste or not, that you could give for the holidays instead of spending money on a gift that you just bought because you bought it.
Yeah.
I mean, because you had to buy something. You had to go out and you had to buy something. So I will start with one.
Okay.
One year, back when I had the first house I ever owned, and the person I was with at the time, and we had bought the house, I believe, in the fall. And of course, house buying is expensive. There's all sorts of expenses.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
But that Christmas, we decided we'd have the whole family over to our house for Christmas. And so we must have bought it, no. So it must have been the second year, I'm sorry. But I made dipping oils. We grew stuff in our herb garden. So we took fresh herbs out of our own garden. Now you could go buy fresh herbs somewhere. You don't have to grow them. But you can take some herbs, go to any one of the stores, any of the craft stores, places like that, get a nice kind of bottle, a decorative bottle of some kind.
Yeah.
And you just get a really, get a nice oil, a nice dipping oil, and you put the herbs, 1, 2, 3 herbs in it. You can look it up online. It's not
Very
really difficult.
straightforward. Yep.
But I gave people herbs and I gave people dipping oil. And they were all family members, and I kind of knew what kind of spicing they liked.
There you go.
It comes from being one of the family cooks.
Yes, you'll end up knowing who likes things salty, sweet, spicy.
Yep. So anyways, there is a gift for you. There's a gift idea for you. Don't go out and buy a bottle of dipping oil. Make a bottle of dipping oil that is yours. Put a little label on it, made by you. It will cost you probably about 75% less than going to some gourmet shop. And you can make it very unique. You might get a bottle that has a certain shape that has a memory. When somebody gives me a gift and I go, they thought this through.
Yeah, that's where it matters. Where you've heard them or you've noticed something. I think one of the favorite gifts I ever gave an old boyfriend. I worked in the hotel industry for a little while after college. And I started dating somebody who worked there who had just transferred up from Florida. He'd never lived up north. And so that Christmas, I gave him a sled. He never had a sled before. He grew up in the South. He was from the Florida and Georgia area.
Yep.
Don't get snow for Christmas and stuff.
No, and again, I think that's so important that, it's thinking things through and saying, this is something that says, this is for you. It's for you. So, what's a gift-giving idea that can give a little extra oomph and maybe not break your wallet? What do you think?
I love that more and more places have what they call old-fashioned or retro toys and games, and I'm always amazed how many of my electronic-based nieces and nephews and cousins really love a Slinky. Oh my God, those are fun! You know, just those really old-fashioned toys that are very simple, or ones that allow them to be creative. So I've definitely been a fan of blank journals and pens or markers. Max almost always needs a new journal by the end of the year, you know, for his work. Clay, anything that they can then make into and use their creativity, because we have a fair number of creatives in my household. And then I'm kind of a board game fan. I love the stupid things like Twister and Connect Four and the older ones that are so simple that you don't have to worry about running out and getting batteries for.
Yep. So that leaves Operation out.
Yeah, that one does need batteries, but that one's still kind of fun. But not the new versions. Like they have a Homer Simpson version of it where you like pull a donut out of him. Like no. Find the old ones. Those are always a lot of fun.
Well, one of the things that I did, was it last year or the year before, is I went around and got a picture of the graduation. I got a picture of my mother's grandparents on both sides. And I just took a picture of the picture with my camera because, you know, one of her siblings had it.
Yep.
And I got a picture of all of her siblings. It's graduation, college graduation,
Wow.
high school graduation picture. And then I used a simple app that I have on my phone that I use all the time in social media. And I put together a block of 9 photos, which was a photo of the kids, both sets of grandparents, and their parents.
Yeah.
And it cost me a little time, and it cost me a little creativity. And I was actually able to people that I don't normally give gifts to, because I didn't even print it out. I left it up to people if they wanted to print it out or just leave it digital.
There you go.
But I created something digital that everybody that got it loved.
Yeah.
And again, it was something that was a recognition of like their past, who they were, like you said, the old board games from your childhood and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
I think the things that also speak to, you know what they love to do and maybe don't get to do enough. So I know I've given things, and I do like gift cards on things in certain situations, but specifically to the movies, because Lord, they've gotten expensive. So you know, you give them a night out, and you give them, you know, maybe if you do want to stick to cash, you do that, but you stick in extra money for the babysitter.
Yep.
So they don't have to think about that. You know, all the things that would get in the way of having fun.
Or offer to babysit.
Or
so they
offer to
can
babysit. Yeah, you can, I used to do that. Oh my God, that I used to do for Mark and stuff. I forgot that. Yeah, you make your own coupons. You know,
make
good
your
for
own
one free massage, you know, get out of one argument free card. Yeah, those sorts of things. The love coupons.
I
could always give everybody copies of my book.
When I was, yeah, well, it's a great way to get your book around because then they repurpose the book and give it to somebody.
Whatever it takes to find new readers, we'll do.
Yeah. I think I must have been 14 or 15, probably 15. And it was coming up on I'll tell you what I was 13. Because it was the 5th anniversary of my mother and stepfather's wedding.
Okay.
And I made them a romantic dinner. I made homemade spaghetti sauce, and I made garlic bread, and then I made chocolate mousse. I found a recipe where I had to actually take a block of ice and put everything in a metal bowl on it.
Oh,
and
you had to
whip
work it in, yes.
and work it in.
Woo.
The recipe was originally in French. I had to translate it.
I was going to say, this sounds like a sewing straight of Julia Child, but she was in English, so no need for translating her.
But yeah, it was, you know, and so their anniversary was right around Christmas, but it was an anniversary gift, and it was to give them something special. I mean, like I had somebody go buy the bottle of wine because I couldn't because I was too young.
13.
but I put the bottle of wine on the table and I gave them the dinner, and then I slipped out the door and went to her friends and said, you know, happy anniversary. But, it's about being thoughtful.
Yeah, and about knowing, taking the time to think about what somebody's life, day, whatever is, and how you can do something to creatively add to that.
And one of the things, with I'm going to do the coupon idea, and then there's another thing I wanted to put out there that people can do, which is fairly simple, is, if you have somebody like especially if you have somebody like an older relative, a grandparent, or an older aunt or uncle, or even an older set of parents that, that you want to do something for, that's the other use of the coupon book.
Yeah.
Or the idea of saying, hey, if your grandparents are really good to you, and you're 10, 11, 12 years old, and you're reaching a point where you want to do something for them, and they live down the street, say you'll go shovel for them for the next 5 storms. And and they'll probably try to either feed you or pay you anyways, but you can go, but this is my gift.
Yeah, because it's the acknowledgement. I love you, and I want you to have things easier. I want to do something for you. Not get something for you. Give something, do something. There's a difference.
Yeah, and so having that kind of thing where you are something that's difficult for somebody else,
Yeah.
if you have a parent or a grandparent in a nursing home, and you hang out with a bunch of creative crazies like Rona and I do, you get a bunch of them to come and go sing Christmas carols for them and their friends.
We will come and creatively be crazy and sing Christmas carols with your friends, absolutely. You know our email address. Come get us. We'll do that.
Yeah.
We'll sing Broadway show tunes for them. They can join in.
We need a little Christmas right this very minute.
Auntie Mame, in case you guys are needing to
Yes.
look for that now.
But I think that it is, but again, those things that you think through. Now, another very simple gift you can do is you can do things like if you live here on the New England coast, is you can paint shells.
Yeah, we had a guest. Remember, she did the gorgeous rocks that are on the coast here, down by the Cape and stuff. But yeah, find something or just even bottle them up. Here's a taste of the Cape, or a taste of the Rockport, and go to Rockport and get some sand and get some shells and put it in a glass and.
Yep. The other thing is,
get some smog and wind from Boston, and no, don't just.
It's really easy to make bath salts.
Is it really?
I've given people bath salts.
I have never made those.
And you can go on the internet easy enough and find it out, but you want to get a good quality essential oil, and you want to get either Epsom salts or some kind of good quality sea salt, and then you either do a single scent or you do a couple of scents. You want to make sure that you research it and make sure that it's scents that are good in baths, that would be good. If you know what their scents are, something that they might like. So if you know somebody that likes to take baths, you pour it in and you let it sit for so long, and you turn it over and let it drain back the other way, and you do that 2 or 3 times, and then they have bath salts.
Okay.
Not hard.
No, and you throw in a tea light or two, and now it's a box of matches, and
yeah,
and now they have a quiet night of
absolutely
relaxing.
So also look at things that you enjoy doing, that you like to do, that may create an experience or a product. You mentioned massage. Now are you good at it? Giving an older person, as long as there's not health issues involved, but giving them a manicure or a pedicure.
Yeah. One of our guests, Kelly, who is a creator when it comes to costuming stuff. That's how I met her. She's my manicurist, and she's an LPN as well, and that's one of the things she does around the holidays and stuff like that. That's one of her ways of giving back, is because she can do the pedicures for people who have health issues, and it's so good for them.
Oh yeah, it's so good. And
spend time with somebody you haven't spent time with.
Yep.
They'll be good for both of you.
And again, if you're like me and you like to cook,
You really go with him. I'm not much of a cook. I make better reservations than anything else.
But it goes a long way. And again,
It
I'm not trying
does.
to, I'm
Oh,
not
no,
trying to
no.
talk you into do it, but I'm just saying. But if you're somebody who enjoys cooking, making a bunch of cookies or making a holiday bread. Holiday bread is not nearly as hard as making a bread that has to rise in the,
I
unless
have
you
a
have a
friend
bread
who
maker.
makes amazing rum balls, and they are very few ingredients. It's like rum, sugar, nuts, and like confectioner sugar, and I think she actually uses vanilla wafers in hers and stuff like that. But they're good. They're like little shots of happiness.
Well, did you try any of the chocolates at the wedding?
Yes, they had. Ooh, they had little signs on them warning us what liquor was in them.
Jeff's dad makes those. Every year for Christmas, he
I
makes
like the cinnamon.
the cinnamon schnapps.
I love cinnamon and fireballs and all those sorts of things. So yeah,
Every year, I'm told. I'm still a
you get
recent
schnockered
newbie.
on the chocolate.
There was like tequila and there was
Vodka,
rum, vodka.
Scotch, fireball, rye.
Yep. And he makes a bunch of
These are not your typical chocolate-covered cherries.
chocolate covered cherries. Yeah. So there's a lot of things out there you can do. You give people time. You can give them an experience.
You can give them alcohol. No.
You don't. Well, and yeah, I mean, if somebody drinks alcohol, I mean, obviously you don't want to be giving alcohol to somebody that you perceive as an alcoholic or as a mean
Yes.
drunk. Probably not a good idea.
Not the time for that.
No, not time for that. But there are a lot of different things that you can do, and you can sometimes just go to sometimes it's fun, and we're going to move in. I want to move into parenting for a second.
Sure.
Is give your kid a little time and maybe go to one of the, 2 or 3 craft stores. I mean, huge craft stores now they have,
Oh my gosh, yeah.
but go in and find something that you and your child could make together. And then you're giving 2 gifts.
Yeah.
You're giving a gift of time to your child to make it together, to put it out. We're, Jeff and I, because, our wedding, by the time you finish the wedding and everything, and of course, Emily Post says you have a year for your thank you cards.
Thank you, Emily.
Yep. I went on and put it together and, and arranged it. And, people that are going to get thank you cards from us are getting thank you, happy holiday cards with pictures from the wedding.
Yeah. And they're going to love that because it was such a wonderful day, and who doesn't want to remember that?
Yeah. And I meant to actually bring one in. I was going to show it to you, but I forgot. Mercury retrograde.
Mercury retrograde. Evil Mercury.
But the other thing that you can do, which is the thing that Jeff and I did at the wedding, is you can get some glass containers of an interesting size or shape.
Yep.
We had a big brandy glass on the altar.
Oh, I love that.
We also made some for the people that were in the wedding party. We got tiny little heart-shaped ones, and we did mini.
Oh, the sands.
We did the
That's
mini
lovely.
sands. So you go out and you get 6 or 8 or 10 colors of sand. You put a layer in, and there are different ways you can look it up. You can either solidify the layer, or you can let the layers mix in with each other if you want. But you can create an object that is uniquely yours.
That includes, I mean, in this case, it includes multi-generations and both sides of the family. And
Yep, we did a ceremony on at the wedding rehearsal party where we put in sand to represent his dad, my dad, our moms, our siblings, that represented our siblings and their families. We also had the 2 people that stood up with us, because both of our sisters stood up with us, and then we had 2 other friends that we both consider like family. They got to put a sand in, and then we put in black sand with gold and silver glitter. That represented the ancients, and that was a representation of all of their souls in the midnight sky.
well, yeah, and all the traditions and legacies and the pieces that have come to you through time and space.
Yep. So, and then
I had a friend once give me a very inexpensively made TARDIS necklace. And, it was one of those really cheap ones and stuff. You can get the really fancy ones. This is when she'd bought a bunch of them and she brought them and I said, what is this for? And she said, well, to connect us through time and space.
Oh.
For those of you who are Doctor Who fans, the TARDIS moves through time and space. And she said, whenever you look at it, you will know that no matter where we are connected through time and space. I'm like, oh my gosh. It was like geeky and creative all at the same time.
So now I want...
But then you added, back to your sand, you added your layer together at the wedding. And I loved that.
Yeah.
It literally was, not the icing on the cake, but the top layer on this enormous, really, it was like, this is the promotional size whiskey, brandy glass. But you added your top layer with all of us there present.
Yes. To unify the families.
I loved it. I first saw it on the program, it's a joining of sands. I'm like, did somebody have a typo? Isn't it supposed to be hands? And then they got it to, I'm like, oh no, it really is sands.
It is sands, yeah.
It really is sands.
And, but you can get any kind of glassware, especially if you know a certain symbol or shape is important to somebody. You get a little heart like we did for the people that were part of our wedding party.
Yep.
You pour a little bit of sand and you layer it out, and you can even decide if the colors mean something, that there may be something that the colors mean something. Putting together a photo album for somebody of pictures or things like this.
Well, one of the classic ones, and ironically you ended up doing something similar, is the child's handprint in like, not cement, but like plaster of Paris or something. We actually even have had it done with by our veterinary medicine people for pets who have passed. And so you have the handprint at the time, but you and Jeff did one with wax of you two holding hands.
Yeah.
So that's something you can do, and I'm sure there are paraffin kits and other kits you can do where you could put a grandparent's hand and a child's hand together, and do that as a project or as a gift or both. Absolutely.
And we had a paw print of our cat who died last year that was on the altar.
That's right.
We did. So what I do want to say, though, is in this time of year, it's interesting. Man seems to have a fear of the darkness for the most part. There's something within our consciousness, things that are underneath the bed at night or things that are in the closet.
Always.
We're fascinated by horror, and we go into this time of the year where there is less light, the least amount of light in this part of the world.
Yes.
And there is the greatest darkness. And, and it's an invitation for many creatures, and actually I think man is one of them, that is invited to hibernate a bit, to go inside, to look internal.
To sleep.
But what we do is we force ourselves into chaotic, frenzied behaviors of buying and drinking and eating and partying, and we try to light up every corner of everything.
That's a really good point, yeah. Which should be the antithesis of what nature said, psst, slow down.
Slow down, it's time to rest. This is
dormancy, because
sacred time.
Fallow season is important to soil being fertile, yes.
And to the parents out there, and I speak on this every year and wherever I get invited to speak. So it's been on both my shows, both my TV shows, my radio show, and then I was invited to somebody else's radio show, a couple of other people's. And don't be a bad parent over the holidays. Don't set up your child to fail and then blame them. You know what? If your child is 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, they've got a schedule. If their schedule is till 8 o'clock at night, don't go to a 9 o'clock party with them. Don't say, well, it's only once a year for the holidays. Don't think that it's okay to let them eat all sorts of stuff that's going to make them go on a sugar high and a crash. Years ago, I was at a party, and this woman, it was like 11 o'clock at night. This little girl was 4 or 5 years old, and she's crying, and she's melting down, and the mother is screaming at her, why, why are you embarrassing me this way? And why do you do this? And I brought you to this party and blah, 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 blah. And why do you have to act this way? And I got down on my hands and knees, and I'd played with a little girl earlier because I'm always playing with kids. And I kind of looked at her and said, honey, I'm really sorry you have a bad mother. And the mother looked at me and she was horrified. And then I got up and I pulled her aside. And I said, you're abusing your child with this behavior.
You can't expect them to
respond
that way.
If you decided to have a child, then yeah, you have a few years where you're going to have compromised holidays. Maybe you can't go to every holiday party with your child. And if your siblings or your parents don't understand that they shouldn't be having the 3-year-old or the 4-year-old up at 10 o'clock at night, off their schedule, melting down, eating crap, getting sick, doing all of that stuff, then don't go.
No.
Throw a party, throw a gathering that's appropriate for your child at your child's age, and give them very special memories, and then put them to bed. And then the adults can do whatever they want. But don't set up your child. Don't be a bad parent during the holidays because you couldn't say no to any of the relatives, because you gave into all the pressures, because you felt like, well, you know, what's the big deal? The big deal is your child may end up growing up and hating the holidays. They end up traumatized. And at the very least, they're going to end up with a sick stomach.
Don't do it.
And you know what? And if they throw up on your new dress and shoes, you deserved it. That being said, have a happy holidays from here at Dragons and Unicorns.
And our floating Yoda.
And our floating Yoda. And our wisdoms for the day.
And the year.
Namaste.